In the dense, emerald heart of the Indian jungle, where sunlight trickled through the canopy like golden syrup, a family of tigers moved like ghosts through the mist. This was the domain of the Royal Bengal tiger, a place where survival danced hand in hand with danger. And in this sacred stretch of wilderness, a mother tiger watched over her cubs with fierce devotion, unaware that their days together were numbered. Narrated in the hushed, reverent tones of David Attenborough, this story isn't merely about tigers, it's about love, loss, and the fragile beauty of life in the wild. Through the lens of the BBC's Spy in the Jungle camera traps and specially trained elephant-mounted cameras, we witness one of the most intimate and heartbreaking tales of nature, the last moments of a tiger family. Chapter 1. The Birth of Hope. The first monsoon rains had softened the earth when the tigress, named Sita by the forest trackers, gave birth to her 3 cubs in a secluded den near a dry riverbed. The cubs, blind and helpless, mewed softly as Sita licked them clean. This was a moment of triumph. Tigers are solitary creatures, but for the next few months she would not be alone. Her world would revolve around her cubs. Caring for young cubs in the wild is a daunting task. Only about half of tiger cubs survive to adulthood. Yet Sita was determined. She moved them to a new location every few days to avoid detection by predators, leopards, snakes, and even rival male tigers. She hunted relentlessly even while lactating, her lean frame a testament to the sacrifices of motherhood. Through the infrared eyes of the spy cameras, we watched Sita nuzzle her cubs, discipline them with gentle swats, and guard them with terrifying intensity. These were moments of tenderness in a world that allowed so little of it. Chapter 2. First Lessons. As the weeks passed, the cubs opened their eyes to a world teeming with sounds and smells. They were named Tara, Raju, and Veer by the BBC team, each developing a distinct personality. Tara, the boldest, often strayed furthest from the den. Raju was the playful one, tumbling over leaves and his siblings. Veer, the smallest, was cautious but intelligent, always watching before he acted. Sita began teaching them to stalk and pounce, even though their oversized paws and wobbly legs made them clumsy hunters. She let them bat at her tail, chase insects, and wrestle each other under her watchful gaze. Every moment was a lesson: how to move silently, how to freeze at the slightest sound, how to disappear into the grass. The jungle was their playground and their proving ground, and Sita was their whole world. Chapter 3. Into the Shadows. At 6 months, the cubs began following Sita on short hunts. Though they were still nursing occasionally, meat was now essential. Sita targeted small prey, fawns, hares, and wild boar piglets. The cubs watched as she became a blur of muscle and teeth, delivering death with precision. Then she invited them to feed, growling softly to warn them of their manners. But the forest was changing. The dry season approached, and with it came scarcity. Water holes shrank and prey became elusive. Other predators grew desperate. Sita had to venture further and further from the safety of their territory. One evening, after a failed hunt, Sita returned to the den to find Raju limping, a gash on his leg. Tracks in the soil told the story: he had strayed too close to a leopard. Sita growled low, sniffing his wound before licking it clean. That night she didn't sleep. Her ears twitched at every sound. The cameras caught her pacing, restless, alert. The jungle had started to close in. Chapter 4. A Predator Returns. Not all threats come from other species. The most dangerous predator in Sita's world was a rogue male tiger known to the forest guards as Ravana. Large, scarred, and aggressive, Ravana had recently challenged Sita's mate for territory. The battle had left her partner grievously wounded. He hadn't been seen since. Now the scent markings near Sita's territory bore Ravana's musk. She knew he was close. And with him came the gravest danger. Male tigers often kill cubs that aren't their own, forcing the female back into estrus. One night, Sita froze as a distant roar echoed through the jungle. It was Ravana. She immediately led her cubs away from the den. For 3 days they moved without pause, resting only in the heat of the day. But the jungle offered no true safety. Every rustle could be a threat. The tension was palpable. The spy cameras showed Sita's haunted eyes, her ribs visible, her pace relentless. The cubs, though tired and confused, followed her faithfully. Chapter 5. The Attack. It happened at dawn. Sita had gone off briefly to hunt, leaving the cubs hidden in a bamboo thicket. Ravana, drawn by their scent, found them. The BBC crew, watching live feeds from the cameras, could only gasp in horror. Tara and Raju bolted at the first sound. Veer, slower and more trusting, froze. The footage cut off abruptly as the rogue male lunged. When Sita returned, she found blood and chaos. Her calls echoed through the trees. Tara and Raju returned hours later, trembling and wide-eyed. Veer did not. That night the jungle mourned. And so did we. Chapter 6. Aftermath and Resilience. Sita's behavior changed. She was quieter, more cautious, and intensely protective. The loss of Veer weighed heavily on her. Even the remaining cubs sensed it. They played less, stuck closer to her side, and watched the shadows with greater suspicion. But nature does not pause for grief. Tara and Raju grew stronger. Under Sita's guidance they brought down their first prey, a young deer, and fed together. The moment was bittersweet, a triumph born from tragedy. Ravana remained a threat, but Sita's constant vigilance kept them safe. She reinforced the boundaries of their shrinking territory, clawing trees, marking trails. Every day was a battle against encroaching rivals, dwindling resources, and the looming presence of mankind. Still, the bond between the trio grew deeper. The spy cameras caught them sharing a sunlit nap, Tara's head resting on Raju's flank, Sita curled protectively around them. Moments like these, though fleeting, were precious. Chapter 7. The final night together. The monsoon was returning. It brought with it new life to the jungle, but also for the tiger family a turning point. The cubs were now nearly a year old. Soon they would begin venturing out on their own. One night, Sita led them to a high ridge where the jungle stretched endlessly below. It was there, under the full moon and the chorus of frogs and insects, that the family spent their last night together. They played, groomed one another, and shared a fresh kill. Sita let Tara and Raju roam a little farther. She watched them, her amber eyes reflecting the moonlight. And then, just before dawn, she walked away. Not out of cruelty, but because it was time. Tigers are solitary by nature. For the cubs to survive, they needed to forge their own paths. And for Sita, letting go was the final act of love. Chapter 8. Life goes on. Tara and Raju eventually claimed adjacent territories. They would occasionally cross paths, exchanging chuffs, a friendly tiger greeting, but their bond, while deep, was now part of the past. Sita was seen again a year later, with a new litter. The cycle had begun anew. The forest, always changing, had absorbed the story of her loss, her love, and her strength.